Hello, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the very first book review, where, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, I'm taking a look back at a childhood classic of mine that I remember reading as a group in primary school, and that is Kensuke's Kingdom, or Kensuke's Kingdom. I've always grown up calling it Kensuke's Kingdom, so if I switch between the two, I do apologize, because I also, last night after finishing reading this, I did watch the movie. So this is going to be a hodgepodge review, where I will be talking large in part about the book. But I am going to slip in a bit of a review for the movie as well, because I do have a lot of thoughts on that movie. Anyway, yeah, so back in, I think, sixth class, I want to say, is when, as a group, not just my class group, but the fourth and fifth class, were reading this book. And at the time, I didn't care much about it. And also at the same time, there was a big chunk that I missed out on because I was absent for a day. I can't remember what it was exactly, but this is over 10 years ago. I was about to say 20 years ago, but no, I was in sixth class in from 2010 to 2011. And it was again towards kind of like some part of the book that I was like, oh, this sounds amazing. And I kept trying to reread it as a kid, but I never could. But now, and I was, for the longest time, I was searching for this book because, it is kind of hard to come by. At least when I was looking, it was hard to come by this specific cover alone, because this was the cover that we had in school, and this was the one that I wanted. And yeah, so what is Kensuke's, or Kensuke's, I'm just going to call it Kensuke's Kingdom about? Well, it's basically kind of like, picture the film Castaway, but instead of it being Tom Hanks stranded on an island with a football, it's a 11 to 12-year-old boy named Michael with his dog called Stella Arthros, trapped on an island with this old Japanese man called Kensuke, or Kensuke. I should probably try to get it right, Kensuke. Any hoosies. Yeah, so that's basically what happened. So the book opens with, learning that that Michael and his parents, had a pretty good life in England. Michael was part of this football squad with his friends called the Mudlarks. They were always, playing, when they were playing home games, they'd always win because it's always muddy, hence the name Mudlarks. But whenever they play away games, they didn't do as well. And then one day that both parents lose their jobs, and then the only source of income that's really coming into the house is Michael's paper route money. And so the dad comes up with this idea of selling off a lot of their stuff, buying a boat named the Peggy Sue, and sailing around the world for an entire year. And so that's what they agreed to do. So it's the mother, the father, Michael, and Stella. Compared to the movie skips all of that important information of why they're sailing, what led up to the sailing, as well as their training with Bullet Bill, I believe his name is. And it frames it in a way that also that Stella was the dog was never really a part of the original journey. That it was the mother played by Cillian Murphy, the father played by Cillian Murphy, the mother, Michael, and a new weird addition of a sister. Don't know why they thought to add a sister, because she served no purpose in the movie. But anyway, yeah, so they go about that. Again, the movie glosses over a whole bunch of stuff, like the mother being sick and all of that. It saves, stuff for like montages and stuff. But eventually one night, as Michael is on lookout for the night, it starts to get like pretty heavy in terms of a storm. And Stella isn't wearing a life jacket, so he leaves the confines of the steering to go and put a harness on her so she doesn't go overboard, because that did happen one time. And yeah, both of them end up going overboard. He has his football that his best friend Eddie gave him, and so basically the three go overboard. Because no one sees him go overboard, during the night, because the parents are down, in the galley asleep, and so then he wakes up on this island, with Stella, but no football. And so he circles around the island. He starts to look, try to figure stuff out. Try to find food, try to find water. He hears gibbons, screeching about. He goes looking, and in the end, he can't find anything, so he settles down in a cave. And again, the movie doesn't depict the cave that he sleeps in. It just shows him sleeping under a tree log, inside a tree log. And then, so when he wakes up the next morning, he sees that there's food there. There's raw fish, there's red bananas, and there's 2 bowls of water, one for the dog and one for himself. And so then he starts to explore, and he comes across, this bottle that he can use, direct the sunbeam into to start a fire. So when he sees a ship, a freighter, he goes to try to build up a fire. And whilst he's doing that, an orangutan comes out and just, observes him, and then immediately goes back, away. And then as he is trying to build up this fire to signal for that he's there to the ship, that's when we meet Kensuke, where Kensuke comes and knocks off the fire. And this happens twice throughout the story. So this was the first instance. Kensuke can't really speak English all that well. He's saying some Japanese words, and he draws a line, basically signaling to Michael that this is his half of the island, you stay on your half of the island, and we'll be A-okay. But he'll still, of course, feed and give him water, every morning. And even during that time, because Michael is constantly being eaten alive by mosquitoes, Kensuke gives him a net blanket or sorts, to keep out the mosquitoes. The movie depicts it as ants. And there's no extra bedding or something. And so Michael has his own little lookout, which he calls a watch hill, and he sneakily starts to build a way shrine for, so that way the next time he does see a boat, he can sneakily light that on fire, and for him to be rescued. And the moment he sees a boat, he does the exact same thing. But then Kensuke, obviously, because Kensuke's been watching Michael, knows what he's up to, and puts out the fire instantly. And because there's that language barrier between them, that they can't really communicate properly. Kensuke only speaks Japanese with a very little English, whereas Michael obviously speaks English with no Japanese. And then, Michael goes out trying to swim. Kensuke basically tells him, tries to signal for him to not to. He gets really annoyed at this, and so he eventually does go back and swim, and that is when he gets attacked by jellyfish. Now, the movie, again, like I said, I'm going to keep jumping back in between the movie, because I really do want to talk about the movie, but I don't want to do 2 separate videos. The movie glosses over a lot of that stuff. We do see Kensuke put out the fire for the first time, and draw the line, and then the next day he does. Once we see Michael cross that line in the movie, Kensuke refuses to feed him, and puts the line back after Michael got rid of the line. And so then he goes swimming, and that's when he gets attacked by jellyfish, like he does in the book, and Kensuke is the one who rescues him. Now, here's where again the diversion happens between the book and the movie, because in the movie, Michael gets back up straight away. There's no building, teaching Kensuke English. There's not them really getting to properly know and respect one another, where there is in the book, because it takes a while for that the jellyfish sting to leave Michael's body, and that entire time he's bedridden, and so Kensuke is looking after him, feeding him, singing to him. He sees that he goes out and does his chores. He also sees that he paints on seashells, whereas in the movie he paints on bits of paper. And again, that glosses over that, because that's again another bonding point for Michael and Kensuke. And so eventually Michael does teach Kensuke some English, and they start talking, and then eventually they have to go further out to catch fish, and that's when Kensuke tells Michael what happened to him. Now, in the movie, it's beautifully shown, but Michael doesn't know this. All he knows is that Kensuke is from Nagasaki, whereas in the book, the entire chapter is going to name it out here, is chapter 8, Everybody Dead in Nagasaki. This is again towards the end of the movie, and at that point as well, at some point a Coke can washes up, a Coke bottle washes up. Michael, scribbles it out because Kensuke opened up to Michael. Well, he calls him Micah-san, because he just can't fully say Michael, but in the movies, Kensuke does call him Michael. He writes a letter to throw in the sea. Then the next day, Stella brings it back, and Kensuke is hurt by this because he sees Michael as a son, and he hopes that Michael sees him as a father, as family. And they completely gloss over that in the movie, and that's what bothered me the most, is because that character development that characterization needed to happen in order for their friendship, their relationship to be believable in the movie. It's not there. That's why I could only give the movie a 2-star out of 5 on Letterboxd. Despite the beautiful animation, it does not stick to the source material, and that's what makes it fail. So as I was saying, Kensuke talks about his life, how he was a doctor, how then he got conscripted into the army, and in the navy, how he ended up on the island, how he heard of the bombs being dropped on Nagasaki. He thought that Nagasaki was gone, that his wife and son were gone. And Michael's trying to, he tries to pick him up, saying that no, Nagasaki's still there, that Japan is still has survived. A lot of our technology and a lot of our stuff does say made from Japan, and he tries to convince Kensuke to leave. And Kensuke also talks about how these men with guns came, killed all the Gibbon's mothers, and took the children away. And how, because he's seen that happen, whilst he did save all the orangutans, because he has this relationship with the orangutans, he swore that he hates people. He hates all people. And then it's also revealed that it was actually Kensuke who pulled Michael out of the water, because he was fishing, and his ship, his little ship, got blown away, and he of course seen both Michael and the dog, and so he brought them to the island. But he was still so angry at people that he wanted to have absolutely nothing to do with them until that jellyfish incident happened, and that's what brought them closer. And then we have a beautiful scene that is again glossed over in the movie, of in the middle of the night, Kensuke brings Michael down to see these baby turtles being hatched, and trying to save them from the birds in the morning, to make sure that they make it to the sea so they survive. Obviously, not all of them do. That's the circle of life. But then the men come back, and do the exact same thing again. They kill all the mothers. They take all the gibbon babies, and then they leave. And Kensuke is so annoyed at this, that because he was initially going to go with Michael, to try and find his wife, to try and find his son. But after that, he's like, I can't leave these animals. I have to be the one to protect them. And then eventually, it's the Peggy Sue that finds him. And so he gets rescued. And that's the end of the book. Now, like I said, I really enjoyed reading through this book, because of seeing the development of, grow between the unlikely friendship grow, with that language barrier being there, where Kensuke only knows certain amount of English, and then Japanese, and then Michael having taught him through the course of the year that he's been on the island, that they build that relationship. Thanks to Michael getting stung by the jellyfish. and the movie bastardizes this, and I hate that. You know, I was so excited to see that. Oh, it came out, and oh, but it looks so beautifully animated. And then I started watching it, and then I started to see the changes that were made. And like, I know when it comes to, you know, movie adaptations of books, they're not usually the best well done, but to ignore a lot of the key character developments, the character journeys that both Kensuke and Michael go through in order for them to have that, you know, father son, grandfather son relationship, is it just glosses over it. It just has like some quick montages here and there, and that's not good. You know, that's where that film fails for me. But that has been my review of Michael Morpurgo's Kensuke's Kingdom. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not sure how well this video is going to do because, you know, this is outside of my normal foray for videos where I tend to just do movie and TV show reviews. But as I said at the beginning of this year, I do want to do more book reviews because my goal is to read at least 50 books by the end of this year. And this is book one. And I'm on the 21st of January. So yeah, but obviously this isn't going to be posted until February, the end of February. So by then it should be a few books ahead. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you all on Monday for my review of the very first Creed film. I'll see you all next time.